I don't even know what to say other than that is the worst loss of the season, in my opinion. 140 to 133. The Pelicans snapped a 10-game losing streak. They didn't have Zion Williamson. Zach LaVine had a game. And yet the Kings' defense is so bad that even on a night when they have no problem scoring, they can't stop another team. And C.J. McCollum is maybe top 5 opponent team all time, right?
Yeah.
C.J. have a bad game against Sacramento? Even in Portland, he did this.
He is incredible against the Kings. He had 6 points, Grant, at halftime. 6 stinking points. Same formula for the Kings. 14 turnovers lead to 11 points for the Pelicans. Just too much to overcome. And the offense at the end, Grant, really stagnant. Not much movement whatsoever for the Kings.
Here's a shocking stat. The opponent shot the opponent shot very well from 3. Boy, we don't say that anymore, do we? I mean, how about this? New Orleans was 21 of 50 for 42%. I mean, it's like a broken record. Every freaking loss, we're talking about this.
Yeah, Grant, it was the third quarter that turned it around for them. 38 points in the third quarter. Wow. They go 5 of 11 from three-point land, 13 of 21 overall from the field, and they get to the free throw line 9 times, make 7 of them. You can't give up a 38-point quarter to the Pelicans, period, end of story, without Zion. Can't happen.
I mean, it's unbelievable. 38 in the third, and they gave up 29 in the fourth. Sabonis misses the second free throw. Keegan bats it to Monk. He gets fouled. Mm-hmm. You know, at that point, when the game went to overtime, I thought the Kings would blow them out because I thought the Pelicans had just burst their bubble.
Yeah.
But it was just the opposite. They dominated that overtime, and especially the last 90 seconds, last 2 minutes.
You made a point to me before we came to air. CJ should have made that shot at the end of regulation. It was right there. He'd already hit a couple of them already. It was a perfect example of what they did to the Kings defense all second half. The Kings have nobody to blame but themselves. They let CJ get going. We'll talk about that more in a minute. If you want to get in on the conversation, by the way, PK, time to pay up, buddy. Furious Wolf is hungry. It's $500 to Bennett's. How about that?
How about that? $500, huh?
$500 to Bennett's. Whew.
Wow.
Furious, who you taking, man? Let me know which day you're going. Maybe I'll just randomly show up. Just kidding. Let's bring Zach in on the conversation right away. You can call like Zach hitting the QR code or hitting the link in the chat.
Zach, I want to start off. Zach, I want to start off by asking you a question, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
Do you think this is the worst loss of the season?
I have to go back, but I mean, I know what the worst loss I think the Kings had was against Indiana at home when they lost by 30.
Okay, all right.
That's the first one because this is probably top 2 or 3.
Okay,
but I just didn't love. I mean, we've said a lot of these things. The things that they lose is because of the same things that's been all season. DeMar DeRozan's shot selection at the end, I did not love it. I mean, it's great when he makes the shots, but man, like they just kept going to him even after he's missing shot by shot. I know he's getting to the line here and there, but
what a difference 24 hours make.
Yeah,
that's all we were talking about last night was how great he was.
Right, exactly. So it's like I don't. It's hit or miss with him, I guess. But when he's not making them, I kind of want someone else to take over. I mean, DeMar just missed like 4 in a row or whatnot. And CJ, man, he just hates us. He'll never forget that the Kings Kings told him that we were going to draft him and we didn't. I mean, he's just absolutely still furious about that. And I am surprised he missed that like 2-foot bunny at the end. That was crazy. I think the Kings had 14 turnovers and Sabonis had 6 of them. Basically half the turnovers by Sabonis.
Can't have it. Too many.
It's just too many. And this, you expect it from like some of the new guys or something to have turnovers, but not the guy that's been on the team for the longest on this team. And the defense, man, like it's just terrible. I don't see it getting any better.
How could it get better?
They thought fixing it was to fire Mike Brown and stuff, but it's back to the good old days with that. And I just want to point out, the Kings schedule, now that we got rid of the Pelicans games, which are supposed to be the easier ones, we had the 11th most difficult schedule like a few days ago. Now it's the 4th most difficult because we just got rid of the Pelicans games. So it's going to be a tough stretch coming up, and it's going to be tight with these playing games. I mean, I think the Kings are going to get for like 9th or 10th, but it's looking well 10th side.
Here's the problem with tonight also. Golden State won at Houston. Houston's really struggling right now, 105-98. Minnesota won, and Dallas won. Did you see who Dallas started tonight on the second night of a back-to-back? This was unbelievable. Did you see their box score tonight? I couldn't believe it when I saw the starting lineup for Dallas. Max Christie, Dante Exum, Spencer Dinwiddie, Kessler Edwards, and Olivier Maxence Prosper. I've never even heard of that guy. All right. No one played. Kyrie didn't play, Clay didn't play, and they still won to go to 30-26. That is unbelievable to me, how the Mavericks beat the Miami Heat with basically their entire starting unit not playing. But guess what? Because of that, okay, they pick up a game on Sacramento. Yeah. Minnesota picks up a game on Sacramento. And Golden State picks up a game on Sacramento. The Warriors and the Kings are tied now at 28-27.
It's tough because the NBA schedules it where you're playing the same team twice in a row. And man, like the other team's just gonna have a revenge factor. Whoever loses is just gonna want to play so much harder that next game. And I don't know if it's just I would really like to see some stats on how if you play a team 2 times in a row, is it usually split or I feel like it usually is most of the time split, but.
This is the first time that I recall in the last couple of years since they've started doing it where it was in back-to-back nights. Yes. Usually there was a day off, 2 days off in between the games.
Yeah, I'm curious how why they changed it, but yeah, it's looking a little bit grim, but we'll see what happens. We still get some faith for them.
Hey, at the end of the day, you're going into the All-Star break over 500. So
we'll take
when Mike Brown got fired, we didn't think we'd be here. Yes, it should be better, but I will take it. I will take it.
Yeah, let's see how they do against this tough stretch, and hopefully it'll look a little bit better when we got some practices and a week off and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's just a failure to adjust. The Kings did not adjust from about the 4-minute point on from the fourth quarter. It was the same thing, like you said. They blitzed DeRozan, or if DeRozan got coverage, somebody was creeping over. And the shots went up, or it was a late rotation, late shot. It's just, I think you need more than that. You got to have more than one option. Zach,
right.
You know that. Grant,
there needs to be a little bit more versatility with the play calling and who's taking the shots up in the game. And hopefully with a week and a couple practices, they can get that cleaned up.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Zach.
Appreciate you, Zach.
Take care,
Good
guys.
job. Good way to kick us off. Super chat. Thank you very much. JC, if we're going to talk about the negatives, then let's talk about the positives. I want to hear both sides. We are not even 6 minutes into this. Well, I guess we're 9 minutes into this broadcast. We're going to cover it all. We're just getting through it right now. But
we are going to start with the negative because the Kings just lost to the worst freaking team in the Western Conference, who had lost 10 games in a row, and their best player who played last night did not play tonight. So just so you know, we're starting with the negatives. You want to know why? Because the negatives way outweigh the positives for this particular night. Now we will get to the positives because we have covered all the negatives. Zach LaVine had his best game as a King. You can get an idea of what he'll be able to do for this team, because he's a dynamic player.
Very much so. His ball was out of his hands a little bit more. He was more in corners, which I thought was good. Got a few more calls, so good look for him. Now, Grant, I'm worried about Zach's basketball IQ. I don't know if it's just been a bad 6 or 7 games here in Sacktown, and I'm sorry, JC, that I'm going to bring this up, but it is time to go to the whiteboard, because when we talk
about your whiteboard stuff, man, you do a good job at this.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Napes. This is the third quarter. CJ McCollum has exactly 6 points. Grant, I'm going to ask you a question. Look at the board. Zach LaVine is guarding CJ McCollum. When you are in that position, what is your responsibility? What things are you supposed to be seeing? Here's Zach LaVine right here.
Well, I'm you told me he was guarding CJ McCollum.
And CJ's right here.
Okay. So and what's CJ's forte? What does he do very well?
3-point shooting.
Okay. So I don't know about you, but I'm not going to be right underneath the basket. I'm going to be on his ass. But anyway, go ahead.
Anytime your guy is not on the strong side, which means the ball is on the opposite side of the court from him, you are supposed to see man and ball. If you are Zach LaVine, you've got to see where CJ is and you've got to see where the ball is. Zach LaVine completely lost CJ McCollum. Look at this gap between here. CJ comes straight up here, hits a three, and that is exactly what kicks off this avalanche. In fact, CJ hit 3 triples in a row after that.
Unacceptable.
It can't happen.
Ryan, is that not basketball 101? I'm sorry, but isn't that, we're talking about the NBA. We're not talking about junior high school. Isn't that basketball 101 right there?
It is basketball 101. And Grant, we are talking about the only hot guy tonight on the scouting report. The only hot guy in CJ McCollum. If you were going to put your eggs in one basket to guard somebody, that's him. This guy coming down was supposed to set a pick for CJ McCollum right here. This was supposed to be a pick. There's nobody to pick because Zach's not even guarding him.
It's unbelievable to me. It's just unacceptable. Again, that's basketball 101. It's just like, I don't understand that. Like, I really don't.
CJ's just too good of a player. You give him that much space. He didn't need much space in overtime, did he, Grant?
Oh, boy. Wow.
Yeah.
He had 43 points for the game.
43.
What did he have at the half? 6?
6 points.
Okay.
6 points. Wade, what's up?
How many times have we seen him do that against Sacramento? Almost every game, right?
He coming into last night, he was averaging 30 points a game against the Kings.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we got you, Wade. How you doing today?
Good. How about you guys?
Well,
I've been better. Watching that game was really annoying me. To kind of piggyback on Zach LaVine first, he played maybe 40 minutes total of college basketball. So the way he got into the NBA was not learning basketball and being like a savvy player. He was essentially banking on his athleticism and how he did the combine. So he's never been a high basketball IQ player. So I agree with you guys there for sure. He's been coasting by on his speed and athleticism. And once all that fades, you're going to have a lemon. As far as CJ goes, I don't know if everyone out there listening knows that the Kings promised to draft CJ number 7 overall, and they took Ben McLemore, who sucks. But I think, and it kind of confuses me from CJ too. Why don't you play like that against everybody? Why don't you have that chip against everybody?
He has some big games. Yeah,
he's good. I guess the kind of a positive. Domantas had 13 offensive rebounds. If I would have told you before the game started, Domas is going to have almost 30 rebounds, would you say that would be a win or a loss?
A win. If I told you the Kings were going to out-rebound them 58-45 and have 21 offensive rebounds as a team, should have been a 20, 30-point game.
Right. So what do you guys think as far as the three-point defense? Is it just the personnel just doesn't defend? Are they just going under too many screens? Like, what is wrong with their three-point defense?
Wade, it's funny you ask, because I'm going to bring the drawing board up, or the whiteboard up one more time. Here's another example of what you're asking. Keon Ellis is right here. Here's your shooter that's already ready to go. You cannot defend a 3 like that. This was not out of his own set. This was, again, just being a little lost in translation. It's positioning and it is communication.
Communication's huge. You have to point out your man. You have to communicate. You have to warn people that screens are coming, whatnot. If you're not talking,
it's hard to communicate when 2,000 fans are in the building. So we got to give them some slack there.
Good point there.
Yep, that's true. I guess that's all. Yeah,
you're exactly right. You're exactly right about communicating, and especially in this environment where it's like a public library. You know, there's no excuse to have miscommunication in a dead gym. No excuse.
My friend actually joked, and he said it's almost like, you remember the bubble? It's almost like playing in the bubble.
So it's a good point.
Yes,
it's a very good point.
The schedule is going to get a lot harder. We can't really hide behind the Pelicans forever, so hopefully there's some sort of message that comes from this game. But I don't know what you can do with the personnel you have. Bring in Markelle Fultz. Can he even shoot a free throw now? I don't even know where he's at.
You don't
so
need
that
him
can't
to
be your savior.
You don't need him to shoot. He was not brought here to shoot. He was brought here to play defense, to ball handle,
Distribute the
run
ball.
some pick and roll, distribute. That's what you need from him.
All right. Well, thanks.
Yep.
Thank
Appreciate
you very much.
Thanks,
You're
Wade.
right about the communication on that. You're 100% correct. But there's a lot of issues on defense because this is not just a short sample size. We have got a long sample size, not only this year, but seemingly for many seasons. I don't understand it. I really don't.
Grant, what's the one thing, you know this, what's the one thing that cannot happen when you are double teaming somebody? What's the one thing that can't happen? We're looking right up here, everybody.
I'm looking at the Kings defense right here. I'm looking at Keegan. I'm looking at the two players in red at the top of your screen, right?
Yep.
Who's that at the bottom of the screen?
This is Trey Lyles right here.
Okay, that's Trey Lyles. But look at the flat foot. Who's that at the crouch who's flat-footed right there?
That is Jake LaRavia.
Okay, well, you cannot allow, if you're double team, a guy to split the defense, and now all of a sudden.
Okay, you nailed it. I'm sorry, that I thought you were looking at a different spot. That is Valanciunas, and that's exactly what we're looking at. You're setting up a trap here, and he's flat-footed, and he splits right through the middle of that.
Can't allow that. That's awful.
You can't let that happen. And again, communication. Which side are you going to be on? Being hip to hip when you are going out to trap that far out. And Grant, if you give an NBA team or an NBA guard, especially Jose Alvarado or CJ McCollum, that much space,
they're going to kill you.
Happen? They're going to kill you.
Well, guess what? In the Dallas game, that's how the Mavericks lost. They went to double team DeMar DeRozan, and he split the two defenders and made the little floater from the baseline. That's how the Mavericks lost.
Great point.
Exactly. When you go to double team a guy, he can't. There's no way in the world he should be able to dribble through you double team. That's how the Kings beat the Mavs the other night.
Excellent point. It should never happen. You should foul the other player before they dribble through it.
Yes. So that illustration that you just had further out on the floor than DeRozan, but the same principle. You go to trap, that ball needs to be stopped. The ball needs to be stopped, okay? The ball cannot continue on the floor, particularly through the defense. The ball needs to be picked up and stopped.
Spot on. Bingo. Let's get to the super chat. We appreciate, by the way, we're going to get to as many chats as possible. Super chats light up on our screen, so that's why they get priority. So we appreciate everybody being here. Please call as well if you would like to get in on the action. Our chat's going so fast. I think I lost it. I'll find it. Let's go back to the phones. Louis, what's going on? Louis, you there? Louis, going once, going twice. No Louis. Baki, what's up tonight?
All right. A lot of things to talk right here. Let's go on the line. Team defense, I don't want to talk about it, but you are not guarding CJ McCollum like that. Okay, a lot of you are going to say he's the Kings killer. My question then, how many points CJ scored in the previous night? 17. And how many points he scored tonight in the first half? 6, 7.
Mm-hmm.
So what is something what nobody sees? When CJ McCollum is not playing good, he turns his offense to the line. He always does that. So what kind of the defense are you smart to turn on? You don't bring Sabonis out of the paint and or other big. So you bring the best defender to stick close to CJ. He's not faster than Ellis. He's not faster than Malik. So you must breathe in his neck. And so if he's going to visit the paint, let him do it and put Sabonis in front of him. He has a good floater, but that is not something he's going to force all night, as I said. When he is not on the average numbers, he turns his offense to the threes. And other thing, just as I knew it somehow, Levine bring his fast game on tonight. So what do we do when the game is on the verge? We are going DeRozan every freaking possession. DeRozan. 3 in a row he missed, and you lose the game. I don't know who is made that decisions. DeRozan himself, the staff, who is doing it? who is doing it. We
Well,
are
he's the
talking
same
about.
guy that probably won you both games last night and the game before in Dallas. So you got to take the good with the bad, I guess.
Yes, Grant, that's great. He is okay. He is very good player. But if you're not on, you're not on. You have Lavine, who is tonight. He was so fast to enter the paint. Malik as well. Did you see DeRozan? He was right on the rim. He said he has Malik on the one side, Sabonis on the other side. That will crash the game.
Here's the other issue that I think you have to factor in. DeMar DeRozan is 35. He played a lot of minutes against Dallas, 1 day off. This is now the third game in 4 nights. All right. He is not a spring chicken anymore.
43 minutes tonight.
43 minutes. And I mean, again, I think you got to talk about attrition with him at his age with how much basketball he's played over a 72-hour period. And I'm not making excuses. I'm just pointing out what I think happened tonight.
Yeah, me too. He's very good player. Even if he's ready as hell, why would you pull all the possessions by one player when you have 3 or 4 players equally with the numbers and mood for the game? I don't know. Malik was really great, and Sabonis was better and better. If you play more and more, Sabonis will be. He will when Sabonis is out of foul trouble. Is a great chance for him. Look at the numbers. How many rebounds? 30 rebounds for the guy, and
Well,
you're not winning the game.
Here's the other-
the numbers I'm looking at right now.
Unexcusable.
There is a huge difference right now between being 3 games over 500 going into the break and 1 game over 500, and because of that, the Kings are on the cusp. Okay, if they lose again, if they lose to the Warriors coming out of the break, they will fall to 10th place in the West. They are tied right now with Golden State, 9th and 10th.
Yeah, that's right.
respectively.
And
Yep.
maybe it's not the worst lose, but it's the heaviest. Definitely the heaviest loss on this season. Definitely.
Well-
The Pistons game at home, where De'Aaron Fox just inexplicably decided not to guard the man in the corner and then fouled him, where the coach was fired the next day. That game and this game, in my opinion, are the 2 worst losses of the season.
What about the
Yeah, but
Magic game?
Detroit Pistons is not comparable to these Pelicans.
What about the Magic game at home?
The Magic had Banchero and Wagner playing, and when they're playing, they're a good team. The Pelicans tonight did not have Zion Williamson. Yes, CJ McCollum is good. Yes, Alvarado is good. Murphy has had big games against Sacramento. But when you look at their roster, there's a reason why they've lost 10 in a row. Okay?
No.
Yeah, but when you play a team 3 times in a week, and I'm not trying to make an excuse, that is difficult. 3rd game in 4 nights. I don't want to say there's a schedule loss factor to it, but you can see how that lines up before the
But they were
All-Star
playing
break.
their 3rd game in 4 nights too.
It's a fair point. And Baki, to your point about DeMar, I don't totally disagree. But here's what I also know: with so limited possessions in overtime, you can't turn the ball over twice.
No.
The Kings turned the ball over twice in overtime.
Okay, you had Fox turning it 3, 4, 5 times. So I don't take that as an issue. I take if you forcing the player for every possession when the crunch time is, I mean, okay, you said we lost to Detroit, but even with Zion, Detroit is way better team than these Pelicans.
I agree.
So
They are
Yeah,
better.
absolutely.
you lost the game against the worst team you're gonna play this season.
I agree.
Yep.
Maybe Washington, but yeah. Baki, thank you.
Appreciate you, Baki.
It's unbelievable. I still can't believe the Kings lost this game, but I should know better after following this team for 5 decades.
Yeah, something
know.
should have given you a hint, you think?
Right.
Oh my goodness. Let's go to Chang. Chang, what's going on tonight?
Ryan, I'm just kind of curious what your expectation for this team is. I think with how chaotic this season is, firing your coach, trading your franchise player, and somehow we're still able to be in the play-ins. I guess what would you consider a successful season with especially how crazy the season is, do we still have the expectation of it's successful, you make the playoffs, you get experience, or I'll be honest too, I'm not sure how solid this roster they're going to stay together even going to next season. So I'm just curious, are we just trying to survive this season, or
A successful season is being one of the top 8 teams. A play-in is not successful if you lose. So if you want to talk about whether this season is a success or not, you've got to be in the playoffs. That means at the end of the play-in tournament, 1 through 8. If you're not one of those teams, to me, it's an unsuccessful season. You won 48 games 2 years ago, 46 games last year. You added to your roster where you thought you made it better, okay? And right now, the Kings are on pace for around 41 or 42 wins.
And did that expectation change for you throughout the season, or was that where you were at the beginning?
I think I felt with the trade for DeMar, that was a win now move.
Yeah.
And with the age of our core, we should be winning. And the fact that, we're barely 500 is kind of concerning, because it really makes you question what are we going to be going forward to, because Sabonis is going to turn 29. Malik is in his prime age. If we're still struggling with our core to even make the playoffs when younger teams seem to already, like Houston, Memphis, OKC, they seem to have the regular season buckle down, but we're barely trying to survive the regular season. It just seems that we're building something that is not sustainable. And
I agree. It's not sustainable.
And I think that's
you're
my
spot on.
and I think that's my biggest worry was, people are trashing the GM of the Mavs for trading a younger player to get an older player, but that's what unfortunately Monty's done. He's traded a younger, player for older players. DeMar and Levine, they're a little bit older. And my concern is if we made those trade, that means that we should be, making the playoffs without any questions. And the fact that we're still questioning we're gonna make the playoffs, I don't know. Like, I just feel like if we don't even make the playoffs this year, I just unfortunately think.
Well, with the schedule that is coming up after the All-Star break, quite frankly, I don't know how the Kings are going to survive playing like this. And defensively, when they haven't played Cleveland yet, they got Boston at home, and I know they beat Boston. They got Milwaukee at home. They still got to play OKC. They got to go to Houston. They got San Antonio coming in when Fox is going to go up. They have to play the Knicks. They have a lot of tough games coming up. They have to play Memphis. They have, listen, the schedule's brutal. All right. And thank you very much for the call. And by the way, thank you very much for the super chat.
Yeah. Thank you,
Art Dizzle. We appreciate that very much.
Thank you very, very much. That's a very nice super chat indeed. I'm going to play devil's advocate. This West is brutal. Look at the separation. We were just looking at the standings. With everything the Kings have been through, I don't think it's unvaluable, or I guess that's the wrong word. I think the fact that they're around 500 does not bother me as much as it would have the 48
How's the West
game
different
year.
than it was last year?
The teams are way better this year in the West. The record that's going to get you into the play-in is not what got you into the play-on last year. I don't think 40. Do you think 46 games get you into the play-in? I think
This
that
year?
probably
Hell
this
yes.
year. Yeah,
Hell yes.
exactly.
Yes.
I think you'll get into the play-in this year, probably not too far off of 500 in the West.
Yeah, 42, 43,
Right.
41.
Exactly.
But the West is just as competitive this year as it was last year. You can say it's better or it's not better, but it's just as competitive.
I think it's better, though. I think what Jerry said at the start of the season has held true.
It may be, but the Kings aren't better. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's a good.
They're not better. The Kings are not a better team this year. I'm sorry, they're not. Now, could they be in the second half once everyone gels, assuming that they do? Maybe, but I also look at a large body of work when I sample the team, and I've watched every game. I've followed this team every game, and I think they have big-time flaws. I thought they had flaws under Mike Brown. They have flaws under Doug Christie. To me, it's not a coaching issue. It's a personnel issue. Right. They're not built for the way the NBA is played today.
It's a great point.
That's my problem with them. They're more of a throwback type of a team right now than they are of a 2025 team.
And if you're going to be a team that's a throwback or separate from the way the league's built, you have to have what? An identity that's different from the rest of the league. This team doesn't really have any identity.
they have no identity. New Works Plumbing, they've got an identity, and that is being really, really good at what they do. Plumbing needs and repairs. New Works Plumbing will be there 24/7. They're awesome. And again, I always love when we get positive feedback from our viewers when they use New Works Plumbing. Thank you very much. We appreciate everything they do for this show. New Works Plumbing, they've got a fix for you. I hope you don't need them, but if you do, keep New Works Plumbing in mind. And don't forget, the newest residential community in Calusa is Sunrise Landing. You go to CalusaSunrise.com. You can check everything out. Good access to the major arteries like I-5, Highway 45, Highway 20. This is a Blazona development project adjacent to the Calusa Golf and Country Club. Again, we invite you to go to CalusaSunrise.com and get all the information that you need on Sunrise Landing. And don't forget, Ryno, I am looking for a rant with Grant. I'll be doing that in a couple of minutes. So if folks want to jot down some ideas on the chat line, I'm happy to take them.
No doubt. Let's get to, and we're going to get to Rabinet, Jay, Louis, but Evan was at the game. I know this. Evan, what's up?
I told you, Ryan.
Evan, you there?
Nothing more than... Hello?
Yeah, Evan.
Hi, go ahead.
Evan, did you have a flag with you?
No, I did not.
Okay. I thought you were on TV. Go ahead.
I was asking for people to send pictures, but I don't think I got on. But I wanted nothing more than just for them to win, even if it was in the ugliest fashion that we're used to. And the whole time it seemed hopeless, honestly. Like, I was watching it, and like the modern NBA is all three-point shooting and three-point. It wasn't just one player. It was like single player has the worst closeouts.
Yes. Right.
All. The only one who talks on defense is Valanciunas. Monk was, and everyone's looking at the guy, and then he knocks down others. I mean, I've been the biggest optimist of this team for like 10 years, you know. I'm like, and I told all my friends before the season, I was like, oh, they won 46 games last year. They added Sabonis and got rid of Barnes. Barnes is than DeRozan. Like, they're going to definitely win 50 games this year. And I'm watching this team, and it's like they have no identity whatsoever. They were just throwing it down to DeRozan when Levine was clearly the best player. It made no sense.
Hey, how many people do you think were at the game tonight?
5,000.
Okay. That's a lot for them. I'm surprised by that. I didn't think there would be 5,000.
Oh, yeah, it was a Thursday, you know. Lower bowl was packed, but upper bowl, I looked up there, and, you know, sometimes at the Kings games, it's like a Tuesday night against the Trailblazers or something, and you look up there, and it's like, how? Yeah. I looked up, and there would be one person staying by themselves, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
We appreciate you. We appreciate you taking the time after the game to call the show. Is there anything else you want to add?
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to say I think this team's going to win 38 games this year, and we're going to end up losing our pick.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, Evan. So, good job by Evan.
I think with the schedule coming up, it's very realistic that they will not win 40 games. I got to be honest. I mean, when you lose games like tonight, that becomes a lot more difficult to obtain. And again, the schedule is brutal coming up in March.
Yeah, I can see it both ways, but I could also see them beating some of those good teams. The talent is there. The pieces just aren't coming together. I don't know how Markelle Fultz helps or changes things. No, it's not going to be a significant role, but maybe those bridge minutes are able to pull the second unit better together. I don't know what it is, but the potential to me is there to win 40, to maybe win 41, despite the hard schedule.
All right, we got Logan chiming in with a super chat. Let's see what he says. Grant, I've been watching you since I was 2 years old. Thank you for the unparalleled loyalty you have to the city. Do you think we'll see the Kings win a championship in our lifetime? How far do you think? Logan, thank you very much. I don't know how old you are. I would say probably not in my lifetime. You never know. I mean, you have to get that dynamic superstar in the draft, like Giannis, who wants to stay in a smaller market and help you win a championship. If you don't get that player, then the answer to that question is no. But if you're lucky enough to draft a LeBron type of a player, a Giannis type of a player, someone of that special caliber, San Antonio, Victor Wembanyama, who I think will win a title at some point.
Yeah.
If you don't draft that type of a player in a market like Sacramento, you're probably not ever going to win a championship.
You came damn close to doing it without drafting one of those players.
Yes, you did, but that was a different era. But yes, you did. That was in 2002. And if you remember, Jeff Petrie was a magician in putting that team together. But you're right.
Great
You
point.
did without draft picks. You're exactly right.
It's one of the reasons that team, I believe, changed the style and build of the way teams were built going forward in the NBA. I don't think you have the Warriors without the 2002 Kings, Grant.
I don't think so, but I don't think the game is played the way it is today without Steph Curry. I think he revolutionized the game to the era that we're in today. I do agree with you that the Warriors took a lot from the Kings playbook and implemented that style of basketball. But even as great of a shooter Peja was, the volume of threes back then is totally different than the volume of threes today.
Very true. Steph Curry has changed 2 positions while only playing 1. It's insane.
Yep.
Rabanese, what's going on?
What's up, guys? Glad to be back. Shout out to all my plumbers. Grant, you are the king of kings for announcers. Ryan, I just followed you. I couldn't believe I wasn't following you, man.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
Now, just to segue just into that, because I've been thinking for the last couple of days, Grant, you will know this answer. This is not about tonight's game. This is about the overall franchise, so people can have a better understanding about how these players think. When did it switch from a team, like, okay, they say it's an NBA's league right now, it's a players league, but when did it switch from a players league to an agents league? What I mean by that, these agents are asking these players, hey, don't take that pay cut. I want to keep that money. Hey, I want you to go over here. I got loyalty over there. Because as we know, it's not about what you know. It's all about who you know. So Grant, in the last couple of years,
great question.
The reason
I think
why
it's
I
a
asked
great
that,
question.
well, I'm gonna get off that. I want you to ask. The reason why I asked that, Grant, because you said it would take us some years. How far are we from getting to flip back to a team coach? Because without Rick Adelman, we've been struggling since Rich been gone, right? So just answer that for me, Grant. I love you. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Grant. See you guys next show.
For sure.
Thank you very much.
Napes, that's almost a podcast question, my friend.
That is a great question. You know, back when Michael Jordan played, his agent was David Falk, and he was a super agent and had a lot of power in the league. I would have to think about your question for a little bit, but I'm going to do this off the top of my head. I think the advent of social media, and particularly Twitter, now X, has had a profound impact on professional sports. I think it has had a big impact on organizations and how they do business. And a lot of times organizations panic because of the pressure that they're getting on social media. We see that all the time with sponsors. We see that all the time with Pride Night or this night or that night. We saw it with the Dodgers last year and Oral Hershiser and the mess that they had on Pride Night. Most of that came from social media. Social media has a huge impact on these type of things. Look at De'Aaron Fox. What impact did De'Aaron Fox, Ryan? I want to ask you this.
Yeah.
Going on Draymond Green's podcast have from a public perception, right? It certainly didn't help out his cause.
No, it had a massive shift. And also, you could even say Mike Brown and his agent. Think about how it manipulated the fan base for his extension, Grant.
Exactly right. And Mike Brown now is sitting back in his beautiful El Dorado Hills house, or his house in the Bay Area, or on an island in the South Pacific, sipping on his red wine and going, God, I just hit at the bank again. Now I got to wait 2 more weeks to hit at the bank again. Damn, I only have 4 more years of this. Damn. So yeah, I mean, he's in a good position right now. No, it's true.
It's a great position. Absolutely. Right. I think if I had to throw my quick 2 cents in, I think that there's something to Jordan was Jordan. He had his power. LeBron was different. And maybe that's because of the social media era that you're speaking of. Yeah. But he was controlling personnel. And I'm sure Jordan did to a degree. But then you put on top of that Maverick Carter, you put on top of that
Yep.
Clutch Sports
Yep.
that doubles down on LeBron's power, and now
Yep.
players are floating over there, and I think there's something there as well. It's a very interesting question.
He asked great questions. The second part of that question was what? He was talking about Rick Adelman, and
he was just asking, when do you think it will swing back to Sacramento with a player's coach like Rick Adelman?
that's a great question. Rick let the guys do what they wanted to do. He wasn't big on practice. He didn't have a lot of rules. When it was time to play, you were expected to show up and play. And he didn't police you and monitor you. I'm not so sure that Doug's not a player's coach, but
He is. Yeah.
but it's a different type. We're in a different era now, right? So Doug does not tolerate nonsense. And I'm not saying that Rick did, but Doug will nip that in the bud. Doug is all about professionalism when it comes to basketball. Doug, I've said this before, and if people think I'm harping on him, I'm not. Doug lives in a bubble. Of all the people that I've known in my life, Doug lives in the tightest bubble of any human being I've ever met. Doug is either with his wife, his son, or doing something involving basketball. Doug couldn't talk to you about current events. Doug couldn't talk to you about what's going on in Ukraine. Doug couldn't talk to you about what's going on in the Middle East. But if you want to learn basketball, you spend time with Doug and he will educate the hell out of you. But he can't talk to you about anything else outside of his bubble. It's worked for him. He is a no-nonsense guy when it comes to you're getting paid to play basketball. This is your job. You better do your job. And if not, I'm going to be on your ass. That much I do know about Doug. Okay? He also understands the ups and downs that a player goes through. He's got no problem putting his arm around a guy and talking to him. He has no problem communicating with anybody. That's a strength of his. Okay? But so he's a player's coach, yes, but his rules have to be followed.
Yeah, and I think with Mike Brown, he physically was running the guys more up to what they could within the CBA. He had backed off a little bit and then came back on. Doug, since taking over, it's been a lot more mental than physical, and part of that's the part of the season that they're in right now as well. And I think that's why the mental errors for me, it's like, why are these continuing to happen? Because they might not be out there practicing, but today there was film. They were in there working in the hotels. They're doing walkthroughs, going through spots. Doug's really big about playing the game up here.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Absolutely correct. 100%.
So I want to see that translate. Let's go to Jay. Jay, what's up tonight?
How you guys doing?
Good.
It's funny. I was watching the pregame show, and you guys were talking about pretty much a 20-point win for the Kings, and I was just like, oh, I don't know about that. This team right now, we have a lot of gelling to do, which I kind of cringe at it because I feel like that's not the right direction for this organization. So that leads me to a few important questions. This summer, with or without Fox, was still going to be big for a few reasons. Now that Fox is gone, number one is, what do you do with DeMar DeRozan? Because he is phenomenal. He won us the past 2-3 games. To Grant's point, he's 35 years old. He can't win us every freaking game. And we shouldn't be in a position every game to have one guy close the game every night and win a game by 4 points or 5 points or whatever the case may be. He really is, and it's very hard for me to watch. He is a hole on defense. And it's not news to the Kings fans. It's not news to you guys. But if you really just sit there for the whole game and just try to pay attention to his defense and kind of forget about everything else, it really is hard to watch.
Zach LaVine.
Yeah.
Zach's a little bit better because he's more athletic.
Better, but not much.
And that's the problem with the team. We know defense isn't our strong suit. So that's kind of the first important question this summer. And the second one is,
Yeah, but those questions are for the summer. They're not for the middle of February.
you're right. And that kind of
Don't
goes
worry
back.
about the summer. Don't worry about the summer at the All-Star break. Worry about the summer when the season ends. Don't worry about the summer now, because many things can change between now. Because here's the reality, Jay. If the Kings happen to get into the playoffs and DeMar DeRozan wins a playoff series because he carried the team on his back, you're not going to be going, gee, we need to get rid of DeMar DeRozan. Wait till the season ends. Don't worry about the summer in February.
That's a great point.
You know what? I will say this. Hold on, before you go on, Jay. I think you do have to acknowledge, though, if there is going to be a fork in the road, like if the Kings decide, let's try to get younger, this is going to take a couple more years. DeMar's that piece probably around the draft that you are looking to possibly move up.
Well, they should have moved him last week then, because it would have been a lot easier to move him at age 35 in the middle of him being healthy and playing well than it will be in this summer when he's turning 36, in my opinion.
Not if he played more minutes this year than he did the year before, and he produced just as much, if not more. He's got another good year or two left, and he's been fairly durable. But I'm just saying, I think that is the turning point for Kings fans. If DeMar DeRozan moves, that's probably when you know this is closer to the rebuild than the recalibration to take a run at the playoffs, take a run at winning a series.
Second thing, Keegan Murray. And I know, Grant, you don't like talking about the summer, but I feel like this has been under the radar with the media. It's time to talk about an extension with Keegan Murray. And so, and you've talked about this earlier on in the season, saying, you know, Keegan is kind of taking a step back, and obviously we can attribute that to numerous different things. But let's just get straight to the numbers, right? The stats and then the money. Those two numbers are the most important. So what would you guys feel comfortable paying Keegan Murray compared to his peers?
I have no idea. I really couldn't
like
answer that.
and to Robinet's point, this has been an agents league now.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think, you know, Keegan and his agency, his representation, will approach this extension?
Well, first of all, the
They're
Kings
gonna-
have 100% of the leverage with his contract. So
Yes.
I'm not worried about it. The Kings will be in a situation where they can do whatever they want with Keegan Murray.
I would hope so. Ryno, what would you, if you had to put a price tag on his performance or his production?
I can't
And
do
with-
it yet because we've only seen one free agency period, and the trade deadline was much bigger than free agency. I've got to see another one because of this CBA to really be able to grade out, because there were a lot of guys last year, Jay, that you know this did not get paid. A couple did, but a lot did not. Valanciunas, did he get paid? No. He's worth more than $11 million to me.
Yeah, the Valanciunas is a little bit different, though. I think with you know, the market is, you know, it's the 3-and-D type of players right now in the NBA that are hot commodities. And take someone like Trey Murphy, for example. We've seen a lot of them this past week.
Mm-hmm.
I think Trey Murphy is a better player than Keegan Murray, and I would assume you guys would agree with that. He's just signed his extension for, it's about $25 million a season. I wouldn't feel anywhere comfortable paying Keegan Murray that. And that's a generous contract for what you get out of Trey Murphy. Cam Johnson, $23 million a season. You know, if Keegan's
But that
looking
was
for
signed.
some,
That was signed before this new CBA.
that's true. That's true too. But I mean, for me, I wouldn't pay more than what we were paying like a Harrison Barnes or Kevin Huerter contract for Keegan, and I don't know if they're going to go for that.
We'll see. I mean, Malik Monk, he's making a pretty fair deal for his
Yeah,
value.
yeah, that's a steal.
$17 million. So yeah, it'll
Thank
be
you
an
very
interesting
much,
conversation. Thanks, Shay.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. It is now time for Grant's Rant. It is brought to you by EDH Motors. Automotive Reimagined. David and Adam, right now, they are looking to sell your vehicle. So if you have a vehicle that you're looking to sell, get in touch with David and Adam. You see the phone number, or you can email info@edhmotors.com. They will find the perfect ride for you. They're located in the El Dorado Hills Town Center, and you don't have to go to a dealership, right? You take delivery right there at their auto lounge. Here is their website, edhmotors.com. We can get all the information. David and Adam, just two guys trying to do something different and better. Decades of experience in the automotive industry. Go to edhmotors.com. Get all the information you need on EDH Motors, and we appreciate them sponsoring our rant. EDH Motors, Automotive Reimagined. You know, the one thing that is a constant about the Sacramento Kings are bad losses to bad teams. We talked about it last year, and I think when you reflect back on last season, it's the main reason why Sacramento wasn't a top 8 team. They lost to bad teams, particularly at home. And Ryan makes a very good point. When you play the same team 3 times in a week, you really learn each other's tendencies. You learn a lot about how your opposition plays. There aren't a lot of secrets. But basketball very often comes down to your best players against my best players. And when you look at these 2 rosters, they're very lopsided. There's a reason why the Pelicans came into tonight's game with a 10-game losing streak and the worst record in the NBA. Yes, their record is definitely related to the injuries they've had this year. We acknowledge that. But last night, with Zion Williamson on the floor, the Kings beat the Pelicans. Tonight, without Zion Williamson on the floor, the Kings lost to the Pelicans. Yes, CJ McCollum is good. Yes, Alvarado is good. Yes, Murphy is good. But other than that, what do the Pelicans really have? The Kings did not get the job done tonight. And because of that, they're only a game over 500. And I'm just wondering, like last year, when 82 games is in the book, plus a play-in game, if that happens, are we going to be talking about the home loss to the Pistons and the road loss to the awful Pelicans as the reason why the Kings did not make the play-in, or the reason why they ended up 10th instead of maybe 8th, where you only had 1 shot at the damn thing? I just think it is mind-boggling how Sacramento lost this game tonight. Look at their roster next to the Pelicans roster. Look at it. And Ryan did a great job of illustrating the atrocious Sacramento defense, which unfortunately he illustrates on a nightly basis because it never improves. How you can leave CJ McCollum wide open, even at the end of regulation. How does a guy get that wide open to try to win the game? Game goes to overtime. It didn't matter. They still couldn't stop McCollum. Where's the grit on this team? Your coach has got grit. So one thing you can't criticize Doug Christie about, he lives and dies with this team. He lives and dies with wins and losses. Do the Kings players die after a loss? Do they take it seriously? I've always liked being around players that get pissed after a loss, right? That it bothers them. Do the Kings have enough of those players in their locker room? Your coach is like that. Maybe you should follow his lead, because losing to the Pelicans is flat out unacceptable. No excuses, period. It is an awful way to go into the All-Star break. Awful. And that's my rant for tonight.
You make some good points, partner. I'm going to throw this at you. I think the Kings kind of ran out of gas. Listen to this. Sabonis 42 minutes, DeRozan 43, Keegan 36, Levine 45, Malik 43. Trey Lyles only played 9 minutes. Valanciunas only played 14 minutes. LaRavia 11. Keon Ellis, who played 29 last night, I believe, only played 22.
So that's
tonight.
A coaching decision. Doug made a mistake there. That's coaching.
Those guys were gassed. And the way that CJ got by at the end of the game, at the end of regulation, and he missed, they were gassed, Grant. They
Now,
had
of
no
course,
legs.
when you coach the game, you're not thinking that you got to play 5 extra minutes. So that's part of it, okay? Let's
That's
be
fair.
fair.
Okay,
right. But
great
you're
point.
right. I agree with you. The bench did not play enough tonight.
Okay, but Keon played 29 in a 48-minute game last night. He only plays 22 tonight.
Yeah. Well,
so it's interesting.
You have to ask Doug that, and I hope that he was asked about the minutes at the conclusion of this game. Hey, I want to tell you about Bennett's. Don't forget about their outstanding weekend brunch, prime seafood and steaks at Bennett's. Whether it's the West Side Grill in Rockland or Sacramento, the Roseville location, the consistency of their food is incredible. Absolutely love it. All right? Love it. Prime seafood and steak at Bennett's. Go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com. That's Bennett'sRestaurants.com to make a reservation or more. Again, don't forget about their weekend brunch, Saturday and Sunday at all 3 locations. Bennett'sRestaurants.com.
Whew, we know Furious is going to be there. Essie, thanks for waiting tonight.
Hey Grant, hey Ryan. So I have a couple questions, but I'll try to make them really quick because don't I know you guys are towards the end of your show. My first
Thank you.
question is, during this All-Star break, at what point can the team come back all together and practice? Like I'm sure a lot of them do have vacation days, right? But say if they all kind of decided like, hey, we want to take our season back, we want to come in as soon as possible to work out in the gym.
They can
play on our chemistry.
work out in the gym the whole weekend if they want, but it's not mandatory. It's voluntary. As a group, you can't do anything until Tuesday, I think after 5 o'clock, but I'll double check that.
Okay. And then the next question I have for you is, if you guys are, Doug Christie, what do you tell your team, the squad that you have right now, to play better perimeter defense? What would you guys say? And I'll take my question offline.
Well, I think Ryan does it with the whiteboard. I think the only way is to show their faults on video in front of their teammates and embarrass the guys. I'm sorry, but if I'm Zach LaVine and Doug puts that up on the screen that Ryan illustrated earlier, that's embarrassing to me. So
an NBA player can't
start.
Grant, in that position, you can't lose sight of the hot guy and the ball, and Zach just completely lost sight of it.
It's awful.
And really quick, here's the other problem that I was going to point out. Last time we're going to go to the whiteboard. This goes to offense and turnovers. The Kings have turned over the opening possession twice now in 2 nights, Grant. And it's a really simple point out. Guys are not coming to the pass. Guys are not stepping to the basketball.
Flat-footed like in cement.
Basketball's in the air. DeMar DeRozan is just standing here waiting for it. You have to go to the basketball. This ends up getting picked off, gone, down for a dunk. That's where I don't know if it's just learning to play with each other, what it is, but that's, again, basketball 101. You come to the ball, Napes.
Unbelievable. All right. I think we've done enough for tonight. It's an hour. What a bad way to go into the All-Star break. I mean, it's just an awful way to go into the All-Star break.
I'm not gonna. I can't
Ryan,
subscribe
you lost
to that,
a
Grant.
worst team in the conference.
Grant, I understand 3 games in 4 nights,
but they're bad. They're still a bad team, even though you played them 3 times in 4 nights. It's not like they overnight they became a good team, Ryno.
I get it, Grant. It's not like they got blown out by 20. Yes, there were bad mistakes. I'm just saying this trip could have gone worse. These 3 games against a team that beat you 6 times last season. And I understand it's a different team. I understand because they're missing players. It's a bad loss, but I'm not going to kick their tails over it.
Okay, how about the fact that this team's not nearly as good as a lot of people think they are? They lost at home to Orlando, right? They lost at Portland the next night. They came home and beat a horrible New Orleans team.
Yes.
Right? They won in overtime against Dallas. Good win.
Yep.
Right?
Very
good win. No Anthony Davis. Did Anthony Davis play in that game?
No, he did not.
Okay. So you got a break there. You win last night and you lose tonight. So that's my sample size with this group of players, correct? Am I missing a game? I don't think
you
I
are
am.
not. Nope, you're on.
Okay, so why don't we, before we go off air,
okay,
I'm going to ask you first, and then I will follow up unless you want me to go first. Since the trades, beginning with Orlando, what grade are you giving this team through tonight?
Okay, let me ask, are you grading on a we just made moves scale or just a flat scale?
The totality of everything that the Kings have done preceding the Orlando game.
Probably a C+.
Okay, I was going to give them a C, but we're in the neighborhood.
Probably a C+. I guess what I'm saying, this, you know what bothers me more than this loss, Grant? It's what I'm seeing. That's what bothers me more. The feeling that I can tell that those 5 guys out there on the floor together, it's not comfortable. We have not seen Kings flow, ball movement one time.
Nope.
Since the trade, not once. And so that's what's bugging me. I'm waiting for it to snap out, and it's not their names.
Well, what about the defense, Ryan? That's just a consistent problem game in, game out, is it not?
Look, Valanciunas is not a defensive downgrade to me. Zach
I agree.
LaVine does not play defense that bad that throws as much off as we've seen. So to me, that speaks to either system and bad game planning or guys just not bringing it. Because Zach LaVine, not a great defender. He's not throwing you off as much as it has. How about you?
I don't worry about Zach LaVine. I just don't. I've watched him play over the years. I know what he can do. That doesn't necessarily mean he's going to fit in with the other pieces.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But they're two different topics.
Yeah.
One is different than the other. LaVine as a talent is top shelf. That doesn't mean he's going to fit in with Sacramento. I mean, we were questioning DeMar DeRozan and how he fit in with this team for months. Did we not?
Grant, we didn't want Zach LaVine. We were saying no LaVine, no LaVine,
Right.
no LaVine all summer. And I think the caveat is, well, now there's no De'Aaron Fox. So does not having De'Aaron Fox change as much of your view on having LaVine here?
I told you I needed 10 games, and I'm sticking by that. I need to see this team play
That's
a
fair.
couple games after the break. Are you doing a show tomorrow?
I will. I'll be here at 2:00, wrapping the
All right.
week up.
Happy Valentine's to everyone, and
Yeah.
a special Valentine's to Jerry Reynolds, who will be busy all day tomorrow. Do not bother Jerry. If you don't know what we're talking about, go watch our halftime show from earlier this evening.
Well done. Well
Ryno,
done.
have a good night, my friend.
You too, buddy. Have a great All-Star break.
Yeah, you too. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate your support. Sorry to PK, but great job donating the $500 gift card to Bennett's. That's a job well done right there.
Amen.
Take care, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.